Mr. President of the Council of Ministers, I have received your note of November 5th, 1956. I have read it carefully, and I am sorry that I must point out that some arguments are based on incomplete and incorrect information you received. More than 2 years ago, Egypt's ruler organized a special force called fidayun, whose purpose is to penetrate surreptitiously within the borders of our country and to murder citizens working in the fields, traveling along the roads, and dwelling in their homes. At the beginning, these groups operated only from areas occupied by Egypt, such as the Gaza Strip. Lately, he has organized such groups of murderers in Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria, and the lives of our farmers along these borders are subject daily to their murderous onslaughts. During the time of the Suez crisis, the activity of these groups ceased. 3 weeks ago, however, their activity was intensified. In an order dated February 25, 1956, by the commander of the 3rd Egyptian Division in Sinai, Major General Ahmed Salim, it is said, inter alia, quote, "Every commander is to prepare himself and his subordinates for the inevitable campaign with Israel, for the purpose of fulfilling our exalted aim, namely, the annihilation of Israel and its extermination in the shortest possible time in the most brutal and cruel battles." Unquote. Egypt's ruler organized, in contravention of the Charter of the United Nations, an economic boycott against Israel. He established a blockade against our freedom of navigation in the Suez Canal and in the Straits of Eilat, and for 5 years he had violated a decision of the Security Council concerning the freedom of passage of Israel's ships in the Suez Canal. After the Security Council, on October 13th of this year, again forbade all overt or covert discrimination with regard to freedom of navigation in the Suez Canal, Egypt's ruler announced that the discrimination against Israel would continue. About 2 weeks ago, the Egyptian ruler concluded a military pact with Jordan and Syria against Israel. Therefore, the action we carried out at the end of October was necessitated by self-defense and was not dictated by foreign wishes, as you have been told. In response to the appeal of the General Assembly of the United Nations, we ceased fire, and for several days past there has been no armed conflict between us and Egypt. Yesterday I stated in the Knesset, in the name of the government of Israel, that we are able to enter immediately in direct negotiations with Egypt, without prior conditions and without any compulsion, to achieve a stable peace. We hope that all peace-loving states, and especially those that maintain friendly relations with Egypt, will use all their influence in Egypt to bring about peace talks without further delay. I am constrained, in conclusion, to express my surprise and sorrow at the threat against Israel's existence and well-being contained in your note. Our foreign policy is dictated by our essential needs and by our yearning for peace. It is not and will not be decided by any foreign factor. As a sovereign state, we decide our path by ourselves, and we join with all other peace-loving peoples of the world in striving for relations of peace and justice in our area and the entire world. Signed, David Ben-Gurion.